Hey, good evening, everybody. Yeah, it is 6:57 p.m. Pacific time. I do have the house to myself temporarily right now. I did work, and of course, it is Friday. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And I am going to do this uncut, uncensored on the fly. And yes, this may be on the audio, it may be autofied, as I would call it, so you can hear it on the various podcasts. Sites that BW Rosa's discussions are at. And speaking of which, one of the main primary podcast areas that I'm a part of is Anchor.fm. And if you feel like supporting me there, I would really appreciate it. I've activated listener support, so if you feel like you want to support financially, for me, it's up to you. Whatever amount you want to send in, I would be greatly appreciated, because as of right now, financially, I am not doing so well until we get into next week. Basically, next week I'll be working Monday through Friday, no middle day off or anything like that. So that's going to benefit me in the end. The same with the following week, and then I got to find out about the week after. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. But yes, please, if you want to support me on there. I also have a Patreon page as well, guys. I do have a Patreon page. You can find it at Brian Walmer, BrianWalmer. You can find it at Patreon. And if you want to support me there, it's up to you. Basically, you want to support me with any amount that you want, that is great. Right now, for the starting tier, it's the only tier I have right now, is $1. So if you want to help out with that, I really appreciate it. It helps me financially. It helps me. It helps my family in the long run. So if you guys want to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. So it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. But again, I do have a Patreon as well, so you guys can check that out if you want to. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I am here to talk about, though, is something that basically caught my eye when I read it. And this was at the MLPFormus, and that is someone talking about the state of IDW Comics. And I want to talk about that real quickly, guys. So that's what we're about to get into that right now. Okay, guys, the state of IDW. Now, one fan over at the MLPFormus did an article, basically posted a topic talking about the state of IDW and how they feel about the comic's future, and that it's not basically been in the best of terms best in terms financially in the past few years. Now, this does concern him, as it would concern any comic book fan or follower, and excuse me there, but basically it would concern anybody, because of the fact that this April we're going to get what is known as Season 10 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic in comic book form. Basically what it is IDW is kind of hybriding, melding together both the animated version of Friendship is Magic into the established comic book version of it, and thus by combining the two and hybriding the two together, you're getting Season 10. It's basically it's still the same comic. The only exception is after you see what issue number it is, which the first issue under the Season 10 moniker is, I think, issue 89. You're going to see under it Season 10 and Episode 1. So that's the only change that they're making in the already established comic. So the comic is kind of following the route, let's say, Sonic the Hedgehog did. Sonic the Hedgehog, when it was under Archie Comics' run, after SatAM ended, slowly started to become an amalgamation of both the standalone comic, which it was, and SatAM, more SatAM influence, that is. But a little bit more mature than before. And that's kind of what you're getting with MLP Season 10 comic. Now, he does bring up the crossover that was announced in the past 48 hours of Transformers and My Little Pony crossing over in a 4-part story arc, which will begin in May and conclude in May, because the plan is to release an issue every week, just like IDW did when they first started publishing the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. They released an issue every week in April of its first initial month under the IDW banner. So they're doing the same thing here with the Transformers My Little Pony crossover, Friendship in Disguise. So, you know, at least he acknowledges that by doing so, IDW does realize that ponies, you know, MLP can still make a profit, along with the likes of Transformers, especially when you combine the two. But the thing is, you know, I can understand where he's coming from, because, you know, IDW is doing their best to try to be this top independent publisher that even the big boys like DC and Marvel would love to cross over with over time. Or other independent comic book publishers like, let's say, Top Cow, I think, or Dark Horse would like to cross over, or even Archie Comics would like to cross over with. But or even Image, if you will, would like to cross over with. But, you know, basically, from what has been reported over the past several years, from what I understand, because like Steve said himself, I'm not in the comic book industry myself either. You know, but like, you know, but Steve pointed, well, basically, you get what I'm saying. I'm a little tired. I work today, guys, so forgive me. But like what I'm trying to say, like Steve Piranha pointed out, basically, you know, I'm not someone in the comic book industry, you know, where I could basically understand all the ins and outs of what's going on. But I have heard through the grapevine, I have heard by reading various articles, heard through places like YouTube, that IDW financially has not been turning the profit that it wants when it comes to a lot of the divisions. For example, what I'm trying to say is, one of the more profitable places for a comic book company to make money is subscriptions, whether it's physical or digital. And whether or not, you know, IDW is succeeding in either one of those, you know, that could be a telling story right there, because if they're not making a profit from physical subscriptions, but they are making a profit off digital subscriptions, you know, that could carry a lot of weight. Like, they could probably say, you know what, we're done doing physical, we're just going to go digital. But people love to have physical copies of the book. So, when one thinks about it, guys, IDW, you know, financially is in that situation to where they're kind of making a profit, but from what other people have seen that are fans of the industry, are within the industry, were part of it, you know, from what they have seen, they're not making the profit they want. And whether or not it's from lack of subscriptions from a physical standpoint or a digital standpoint, lack of individual sales from, you know, just the issues by themselves on newsstands, or even the graphic novels, you know, IDW has kind of been in that eye of the storm of, you know, is this going to be the year we take off, or is this the year where we're just going to remain where we are, and that's being stagnant? And that's why you're getting so many of these crossovers within IDW and even outside of it. You know, this is why you're getting, you know, getting crossovers like what Linkara reviewed a few weeks ago. And that was the Revelations crossover, which involved a majority that is, not all, but a majority of Hasbro's properties, along with, I think, kind of a collabed property between Hasbro and IDW. Those properties, of course, being Transformers, G.I. Joe, Action Man, Micronauts, Mask, and Rom the Robot. So, so they're basically going as far as to try to cross all these properties that they have, a license to publish comics, on together to try to turn a profit, to get people's attention. And again, they're going outside the box sometimes and working alongside the likes of Marvel and DC and Image and Dark Horse and all that, thinking of what other crossovers they could do with some of their, characters or licensed properties that they have, the right to publish comics on. I mean, obviously they see what, Archie Comics can do lately with Archie and Friends crossing over with, Predator or Aliens. So it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if what IDW is trying to do here, by trying to get to that next level, by trying to get out of that stagnant area that a lot of people say they are currently in, and try to reach that next level as being one of the top 3 comic book publishers in the world, is by doing these crossovers. And you gotta wonder if this upcoming one between Ponies, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and Transformers is going to be the crossover they need. And we'll just have to wait and see. Because not only are they going to have the month of May to see whether or not this is going to be a success, but they also have November where they're going to collect all 4 issues, they're going to collect all 4 issues together and publish them as one 96-page graphic novel. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens as the year goes on. But I can say this. IDW right now looks okay to me. They look fine. I mean, basically their app has free motion comics on there. Yes, some people might say that's just to get you enticed and intrigued. That's fine. But you realize that not many comic book publishers with apps or online give free motion comics, to get you to buy from them? Not many do that. IDW is doing that. So when I look at the fact that IDW may, is kind of in an area that many people view them as being stagnant, and whether or not they're going to go one way or the other, I can understand the concern. I mean, IDW is the one that bought the license from Sega to publish Sonic the Hedgehog comics after Sega ended a partnership with Archie Comics because Archie Comics wasn't doing so well. And now look at them. Archie Comics is sort of doing okay. They got hit shows on the CW like Riverdale, Sabrina on Netflix. They got Katie Keene coming. So they got all of these, spin-off live-action programming that is getting people to, pay attention to their product, to their comic book company. But a lot of people still look at Archie Comics as still kind of being on the verge of whether or not one day they just go poof. So, again, I can understand where people are coming from, because nobody thought the Sonic comic was going to, end at Archie Comics and then be published by somebody else. I mean, I point to the fact that I have an issue cover right now what I'm looking at, what was it? Sonic 292. And that was supposed to lead into some future Sonic Universe miniseries focusing on the Freedom Fighters. But that never happened because of the cancellation. You look back at Ninja Turtles, who are also ironically under the IDW banner. And when they were with Archie Comics, nobody thought they were going to end. And we were supposed to get City at War, or whatever it was, that was going to bring back characters like Ninjara and a few others. It was going to involve the future version of the Ninja Turtles along with the present. But that never happened. That never happened. So, again, I understand what people's concerns are when they hear about, a place or a comic book publisher / company like IDW Comics not doing so well financially, and it worries them about the future of what comics, a company like IDW could cut losses with. And I'll tell you right now, if My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Mask, if any of these licensed properties by Hasbro that they're publishing comic books on are profitably successful in any shape, form, or manner, then they're not going to cut losses with those. They're not. They're not even going to cut losses with some of the Disney titles they are licensing, you know, from Disney, like the Walt Disney Comics and all that. You know, they're not going to do that. What they'll do instead is they will cut losses with some of the original comics, some of the original creations before they do the licensing. Because if the licensed comics make them the profit over their original stuff, then which one do you think is going to go first? Or be put on the hiatus first? I'm just saying. But honestly, the state of IDW right now, I look at from an outside perspective as still being good. I mean, they wouldn't be coming out and announcing a crossover like this if they weren't doing profitably well. Maybe not at the level a lot of people think they should because of all the licensed material they have and some of the original content they have. But I think they're doing okay. And it's, as I've said before in many of my videos, it is a wait and see situation. It is a wait and see situation of what direction they will go in the future, and whether or not crossovers like Friendship in Disguise, which comes in May and November, is going to be the success, be the crossover, be that one event, that one story that takes them to the top or keeps them, you know, above water, trending, treading above water, I should say, but always coming in like third or second place. We'll have to wait and see. But again, I think the state of IDW is okay right now. I think they're fine. They wouldn't be doing a lot of the stuff they're doing. And again, like I said, it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see game that we have to, play. But I believe IDW is going to be fine. I think basically every comic book company has a hard year before they bounce back. Even Archie Comics, despite the fact that Sonic was still a big success for them, they cut ties with that. And they're bouncing back very slowly, especially, like I said, with the CW and Netflix spin-off shows, Riverdale, Katie Keene, and Sabrina being successes, and a future success possibly. So, a lot of comic book companies go through this. I mean, even Marvel. Let's not forget, Marvel at one point was on the verge of bankruptcy, but suddenly they were able to turn the tide, and guess what? They bounced back. And, they bounced back in a major, major way, and look where they are now. Same with DC Comics. They've all been there. Image has been there. Dark Horse has been there. All of them have been there. Major League or Independent have all been in that place where financially you don't know they're going to make it through the year, or they're going to have to close up shop and, file for bankruptcy. You don't know. And to me, IDW, I think they're going to be okay. I think all they had over the past few years, especially last year, was an off year. And I think 2020, it's a new decade, to work with. I think they're going to be fine. And I believe, honestly, crossovers like Revelations and Friendship in Disguise, along with some of the original content they get, is going to help them out. And I think some of the future Transformer stories and comics they got going and planned, along with the Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters, you name it, I think they're going to be just fine, because I think they got a lot planned and a lot in store for us as readers. So I wouldn't worry too much about them, but yeah, I can understand where people like Steve Piranha at the MLPFormus are coming from. So we'll just have to leave it at that, and let the cards play, or let the cards fall where they are. So that's all I can say, guys. But let me know what you all think about the state of IDW. What do you believe is the future for them? Do you think any of the crossovers they've had or will have are going to help them out? And what other future stories and stuff that they have planned do you think could really take them to that next level? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'm out.